about to listen to the Dr. Daliah Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Daliah Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Daliah.
All right, we are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-Dr. Daliah, 1-877-DOCDALI. So many of you know we own an RV. We used to have a trailer, and then we decided to do a motorhome or an RV because that was, I think, during COVID. We just didn't know if we were going to get locked down or if, God forbid, anything would happen or a big earthquake. At least I could pile my mom pets into something. Because we have animals. We really got the RV because we have animals. So if, God forbid, we ever had to leave Dodge for any natural disaster, we have an RV. And we live in an area in southern Nevada. For those of you that aren't familiar with southern Nevada, there's a really big community called Summerlin. And Summerlin is really, really nice. It's really pretty, but you don't have a lot of land. And so you can't necessarily park your motorhome on your property. They have these homeowners associations. They don't want that look. I think it's a cool look. I think seeing people's motorhomes and, their bikes and but there's rules in Summerlin so that the streets are clear. And I get it. So people aren't, banging into other people's cars and the kids could play. And so it's a much cleaner look. So if you do have an RV and you live in the Summerlin area, you need to rent storage space. So you need to find a place that will allow you to park your RV there and pay. It's expensive. So over this weekend, I knew this was going to happen because everybody seems to be getting hit these days with car thefts and people's catalytic converters being stolen. And so, and you hear these storage facilities say, yeah, we had another break-in. It's just, where else are we going to put our RV? We aren't allowed to park in front of our house. So our RV got hit yesterday or over the weekend. Glass shattered, cupboards all over, and it was and some of you have reached out saying, why aren't you more mad? Well, one, I've been robbed so many times that it doesn't really faze me too much at this point. But one of the reasons why I'm not as mad as I should be is they took the snacks and they must have been hungry. For them to take these I don't like goldfish crackers. I mean, I understand the appeal because they're little fishies, but I think my husband, or they had Cheez-Its, I don't know what they had from their last trip, but they had these little bags of Cheez-It snacks, and I posted a picture of that. It was cleaned out. They were hungry. And so maybe I'm kind of taking a step back because maybe this was somebody homeless. Maybe they were really hungry. But they broke through the window. They climbed in, ransacked everything. They left the toilet paper. We had no eggs. I think there was some alcohol in the freezer. They took that. And my husband knows more about the tools and other things. We have an electric bike that was really bolted on good, so they didn't take that. But it's just a shame that that this happens. But when somebody does go through a robbery, I've been through so many that and I think maybe it's because when I was younger, we really didn't have much. But for me, whatever I did have was just so precious to me that once you lose things, I don't want to say I have attachment issues, but I just don't fall in love with objects. And because I know it'll always be lost or it could always be stolen. Whatever I have now could be gone. And that's just been my thinking. Maybe it's because we moved, multiple times. I went to 12 schools. It just, I don't attach to things. I attach to Corey and my kids, but I'm not going to attach to something of value. I also don't have a lot of things of value, so if I do, it's locked in a safe. But when you do lose something, if it's never happened to you, one of the first things you do is you blame yourself. Well, it's my fault. It's my fault I was in a position where I got robbed. So you always blame yourself. Why do you do that? Well, because your body wants to protect you from the next time. Well, I was out walking my dog at night, and that's when they mugged me. Or I didn't lock something up, or I left it, or I trusted an individual. And so you do that. You blame yourself because you don't want it to happen again. You also feel anger, like, well, somebody stole from me. And you start to feel like, well, I want to get them back. I'm beyond that because, like I said, I've been robbed so many times. And they might have been hungry, but it's a very common feeling to get where you're like, well, they did something to me. They took something to mine. I want to take something back. It's wrong to act on that. It's illegal to act on that. But for those of you going, but I'm mad, it's okay to be mad. It's okay to get mad. It just don't necessarily convert that into an action that's going to throw you in jail or do harm. But you do go through that emotion. And then you, for a quick second, say, well, I need to replace that exact same thing they stole. It's really hard to replace. You got to sometimes replace your credit cards. You got to replace your driver's license. You got to replace. But you need to, just like we spoke about with the wildfire, my house burned down too. And I kind of been through a lot. You think, well, I got to get it back. I got to get that exact thing back to fill that hole. No, you're never going to get everything back. You're not going to be able to replace everything. It's not going to happen. And so once you come to that realization, you could heal. And you could say, look, this is something I owned then. That's my past. I'm going to own something new now. I tell you guys on air, if you're going to be, walking around and in a situation where you might get mugged, have a fake wallet. When somebody says, give me your wallet, have the fake wallet ready to go. It could have some dollar bills. And it could have some things that look like, because they'll check it. You don't want to get shot. But don't have your real wallet on you. Make sure anything that's really important isn't on you because you will get robbed. You will get mugged. I'm just of that thinking that it happens. So we'll know more. We're going to assess everything I just saw the broken glass and I didn't have time this morning because I had to get on air. So I'll keep you guys posted. But, with an RV, you got to store it somewhere. And if you don't have a good place to store it, something like that could happen. So make sure it's secure. 1-877-Daliah.
Hi, everyone. If you've been injured in an accident and think you deserve compensation, listen up. We have legal professionals standing by right now to answer your questions for free. They'll tell you if you have a case and how much it's potentially worth. Call 800-710-5100. I'm here with spokesman John Wolf. So, John, tell our listeners who should call right now.
Well, Maria, first off, thank you for having me join you to answer the listeners' questions. Now, as far as who should call in, anyone who's been injured in an accident and think you deserve compensation, give us a call right now and find out how much your case is potentially worth. Call 800-710-5100.
Thanks, John. You heard it, folks. If you think you deserve compensation, call now to find out how much you qualify for. 800-710-5100.
Advertisement sponsored by Legal Help Center. May not be available in all states.
At Hot Shot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems and their solutions. For example,
Hot Shot Secret Stiction Eliminator.
Stiction, that sticky friction, undermines the performance of diesel engines. Third-party ASTM testing verifies that Stiction Eliminator removes 2 times as much stiction than any alternative on the retail shelf. Stiction Eliminator is formulated to be left in the engine oil. It works as you drive.
Available at truck stops, Tractor Supply, O'Reilly's Auto Parts, and online at HotShotSecret.com. Hot Shot Secret. Powered by science.
In a study, it was found that 33% of 44 herbal supplements had no trace of the advertised herb. Don't let that happen to you. Hi, this is Dr. Mitch. If you want to ensure quality, please go to TotalWellness.com. Supplements made for physicians, only now available to you too. TotalWellness.com, helping you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.
Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Dr. Dali, 1-877 DOCDALI. Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen. Big thanks to Daniel, our amazing producer. And big thanks to you all for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter or X at Dr. Daliah, Facebook, The Dr. Daliah Show, YouTube, click like and subscribe. And if you ever miss an episode, go to drdaliah.com. So some breaking news was that the feds have busted a massive alleged Guatemalan smuggling and trafficking ring that was operating out of California. This is very welcome news because we have individuals, from what we understand, still being held as slaves. And federal agents arrested 2 Guatemalan men on Friday, accused of operating one of the largest human smuggling operations in the United States. The 2 were picked up near downtown L.A. and are accused of moving 20,000 illegal immigrants into the U.S. from Guatemala since 2019. Eduardo Domingo Renosh Matul and Cristobal Mejia Shash each appeared in federal court hours after their arrest, according to Fox News, and a judge ordered each held without bond. If convicted, they could each face the death penalty. According to U.S. Attorney Joseph McNally, these smuggling organizations have no regard for human life and their conduct kills. The indictment and arrests here have dismantled one of the country's largest and most dangerous smuggling organizations. This work saves lives, and the members of the organization will now face significant consequences. 2 other men were charged also in the case. Jose Pastor Oxlage is also behind bars in Oklahoma. He had been involved in a 2023 car crash that killed 7 migrants, including 5 from the same family. And then Helmer Obispo Hernandez, who is described as a lieutenant in the smuggling operation. And these smuggling operations aren't, okay, yeah, we are going to, give you a ride. These individuals get robbed, raped, trafficked. This is It's a huge operation. And prosecutors allege that Renosh Matul, who goes by the name Turco, was the ringleader, and he was working with counterparts in Guatemala who would charge migrants 15 to 18 grand for safe passage to the United States. Then they either, allegedly would be held or let go. In fact, one incident, prosecutors alleged that Renosh Matul called the mother of a migrant who he was holding hostage and threatened that she would come home in a box if her smuggling fees were not paid. Now, you would think that the payment would be done before, but it's a lot of money. And then the fact that they're holding them, and who knows what else could be done. So this was huge. I am glad that Homeland Security is doing their job. I'm concerned that there are so many more cases and so many more individuals who are unfortunately under the confinement of these sick individuals. And ICE and Homeland Security have their work cut out for them, and we wouldn't be here if Biden had secured the border, but he was asleep, didn't care. Everybody wanted on his administration wanted the votes. Well, this is what we have. And so Godspeed. Hopefully they'll be able to save more lives. A lot's been going on in the Health and Human Services Division, as all eyes have been on RFK Jr. as it pertains to this measles outbreak. This measles outbreak in Texas has grown to 150 cases. We are being told that the majority of these cases are unvaccinated individuals. We don't know if they're migrants. We don't know if they're U.S. citizens. And we also don't know how many of these individuals are vaccinated. So we kind of want some answers. And people are asking, what, do we need a booster? What's going on? And so RFK Jr. has spoken out about vaccines. He does not seem to be the biggest fan because of concerns that parents have and concerns of side effects. But he did urge that the decision to vaccinate is a personal one. He says vaccines not only protect individual children from measles, but also contribute to community immunity, protecting those who are unable to be vaccinated due to medical reasons. And so his we don't have a treatment for measles. There have been some studies showing vitamin A may help, and there's studies showing vaccines can obviously protect and stave off. I've never gotten the measles because I've been vaccinated. But many people are criticizing RFK Jr. for his stance on vaccines. And being a physician, you have to understand both sides. If you don't listen to both sides, you aren't going to make progress. And so RFK Jr. is now Health and Human Services Secretary. And one thing he promised, which was very exciting, was there going to be more transparency on risks and benefits. People could see the studies on how it works. People could see the studies on what the risks are. And the reason why this is such a difficult situation as it pertains to vaccines is half of the doctors, let's say hypothetically half, say vaccinate, vaccinate, vaccinate. The vaccines have proven to eliminate disease. It helps the majority of individuals. Do it. And it also protects individuals that can't be vaccinated. And that's why we have such a robust vaccination protocol. But other doctors but wait a second, if there are side effects, we have a right to know about them. Parents have a right to know about them and need to make an educated decision. And in medicine, you can't do the numbers game. That's what they do in medicine. Well, the majority of people are fine. But if one person dies from a procedure, from a doctor's actions, I mean, it's full court press on what happened in that one instance. And so when people say, but Dr. Daliah, the risks are so low, there's a 99% chance that people are going to be fine. The problem is in medicine, when one person isn't fine, everything stops and everybody needs to look at what happened. Is that doctor performing malpractice? Is that doctor negligent in terms of that procedure? Is that medication dangerous? We don't wait for there to be multiple deaths. We need to jump on it the second one happens. In training, we had morbidity and mortality conferences that would happen every week, where if somebody died in the hospital, why? What happened? Was there anything we could have done differently? And those cases were those meetings were welcomed. Because we don't in medicine go, well, all right, someone died, move on. No, we need to dissect it. Is there anything that could have gone wrong? Did we do everything right? And it isn't just about a liability standpoint. It's what could we learn from this? What did we miss a red flag? Did we miss somebody decompensating when they were compensating? You need to learn from it so that you can identify. Me being an ER doc, that was the best training. And thank God I didn't lose anybody due to negligence. It was, you could tell when somebody is about to decompensate and about to go into respiratory distress. So you don't wait till it happens so you could protect them. And so if RFK Jr. does not want to endorse something that might have had data showing one died or a few died, that's why. Because that one death or those few deaths will be blamed. And so, we with vaccines, a lot of doctors and pharmaceutical companies have kind of gotten a get out of jail free card because of the massive protection that vaccines offer. You can't sue your doctor. You can't sue the pharmaceutical company if there's a side effect to the vaccine. But that doesn't mean you hide the data. Parents want to know. People want to know. If you're going to put something in your body, you want to know. There's a label on the, on your food. If there's a warning on cigarettes, why can't there be that same diligence with medications and vaccines? So that's what makes it tricky. If one person gets a COVID vaccine and dies, which we saw happen, it wasn't often, but it happened. That needs to be talked about. Why? What was a part of that doctor that died of ITP, where he lost all his platelets after he was an obstetrician in Florida, I believe. All his clotting factors dropped. His immune system attaches clotting factors, and then he ended up having a hemorrhage in his brain because he didn't have enough clotting factors. And so why is that? Are certain people of a certain genetic predisposition going to also have that side effect? Or was it just a fluke? So it is a difficult task. And that's why you hear a lot of doctors or RFK Jr. say it's a personal choice. Talk to your medical provider, because nobody wants to be the one to say go do something and then someone dies. But nobody wants to say don't do it and then you die of the illness. 1-877 Dr. Daliah. Guys, Dr. Daliah here. Addictions can sneak up on us and come in many forms, whether it's drugs, alcohol, sex, video games, porn, or something less obvious such as food, internet, or shopping. Addiction can seem innocent at first and then evolve into an insurmountable evil. In our book, Addiction Basics, Caitlin Kalikas and I dive into the common addictions and provide tips for identifying and preventing these before they sneak in and take over our lives. Addiction Basics can be found on Amazon or my website, drdaliah.com. Check it out.
Lisa Wolf here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you. And be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.
All right. We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Dr. Daliah, 1-877 DOCDALI. So we're being told that the Education Department sent out an email to staffers on Friday saying if they quit by tonight at midnight, they will get a $25,000 severance. Cash payout. A department official, according to, is this KLAS? Yep, KLAS. Confirmed the email. The email was first reported by Politico, sent by Jacqueline Clay, a chief human capital officer, giving employees until 11:59 p.m. tonight, Eastern, to make a decision. It is a one-time offer in advance of a very significant reduction in force. You guys have seen RIFs, that's reduction in force, for the U.S. Department of Education. The department did not answer when asked how many staffers have accepted the offer. Now, that's interesting. Trump has said that he wants to close down the Department of Education. That means many people are going to lose their job if they're in the Department of Education. If they don't take the $25,000 now and they stay and then they get fired next week, they'll wish they did. I'm mixed on that. Remember, there was a deadline of February 6th for you to quit if you don't want to work remotely or work on site and you want to work remotely. Then quit, don't come back to the office, and we'll pay you till September 30th. That was the deal Trump made. And a big concern we had when we were talking about this on air is, well, what if somebody says, no, I want to work on site. I don't need to take the deal. I want my job. I love my job. I want to stay. And then they get laid off in March like some did. So now many people are thinking I might want to take the deal. And buying off federal workers, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of taxpayer money. But yes, they will save the money in the long run because the person is quitting. But $25,000 for every person that quits, it's a nice severance, but it's a lot. So although I was kind of mixed on the February 6th deadline, because obviously the government still needs to run and not everybody's going to get laid off, the Department of Education is something different. All right? Trump really wants to dissolve that. Now, why? Well, student test scores, proficiency. There's been a lot of issues with the Department of Education. There's been priorities on things that were not necessarily about the reading and the math. And when you see that people are getting diplomas and they aren't ready to get a job and they don't have the proficiencies they need, that's a concern. So the department has already put dozens of employees on administrative leave. The complete elimination, though, of the education department cannot be done by Trump alone. It would take an act of Congress. But they say that could save a lot of money. Linda McMahon is, I think, now Trump's pick for education secretary. I believe she's going to be confirmed by the Senate, if not already. And her job is to put herself out of a job, according to Trump. So I love the idea of less federal, more states involved. And I understand some people's thinking is, but if the states mess up, we need the feds to step in. And usually I think states will do a better job for their local constituents than somebody in D.C. The problem is we saw what happened at these at these school board meetings. These school board meetings across the country, these meetings had parents frustrated, where the individuals who were behind the microphone were like, we're just going to silence your mic now. You're only going to have a minute to speak. Thank you, duly noted. And so a lot of parents are thinking that the local trustees, school board trustees, aren't doing their job. And that it takes the feds to come in and fix it. So I don't know what the answer is. You know, I'm more for states' rights, and I think states could figure out exactly what, you know, their local constituents need, but parents don't feel heard locally. So it's a mixed bag. In the meantime, the Department of Defense has now agreed that the email should go forward. Remember, Elon Musk had sent an email to all federal workers, what did you do last week? And Kash Patel and the FBI, Tulsi Gabbard of the State Department, Pete Hegseth, the Department of Defense, said to pause. They weren't necessarily anti-Elon Musk, because Trump even said during that cabinet meeting, if you aren't with him, get out of here. So they have to be very, very careful. But Pete Hegseth said we needed to review this, talk to the Office of Personnel Management, and figure out what the safest way we could do this coming from the Pentagon. So now we're being told that the Department of Defense employees will, and I think only the civilian, I don't think the military necessarily has to go into detail, but the civilian employees will have to fill out their 5 bullet points. There was a lot of confusion. I did not like the way this was done. I am not surprised that it happens in the private sector to ask, what did you do? That's very common. What are you working on? Because management or upper level management wants to know from management what's going on. And since most management is just kind of sitting there, you know, making everybody under them do the work, I've had managers say, okay, tell me what you're working on. And then give this to me. And then they go in and say, oh, this is what I did. Or this is what my team is doing. So that happens very commonly. That's not shocking. And that's what Elon Musk does with his, you know, companies. You know, you need to tell us what you did. If you were goofing off, if you were working remotely, if you were playing solitaire, you know, and because you're putting it in writing, okay, you know, if we catch you lying, then that's grounds for termination. So if you didn't do what you said you did, you're lying. So there's a lot that can be revealed from that email. On the flip side, though, if you're working for the Defense Department or ICE or Homeland Security, there's a lot that could be gleaned from that email that could violate our national security. Even if something's not classified, if somebody, as I keep using this example, if somebody who works for ICE was last week, let's say hypothetically in San Antonio, and they said, well, last week I was in San Antonio working and meeting with local officials, then somebody could infer that ICE might be doing an operation in San Antonio. So you have to be really, really careful. So the memo, Hegseth says the new what you did last week email is expected to be filled out. DOD civilians must comply 5 bullets on their previous week's achievements. Submissions must exclude classified or sensitive information and will be incorporated into weekly situation reports by supervisors. Non-compliance may lead to further review. Employees currently without email access due to leave, shift work, temporary duty, or other valid reasons must comply within 48 hours of regaining access. Managers of those who do not regularly work in office settings with access to email, warehouses, shipyards should address directly with their employees. So, what Trump wants to do is eliminate the waste, fraud, and abuse. Our labor costs are probably one of the biggest expenditures as it pertains to our deficit. And so they're going to cut jobs. It's going to happen. And so Elon Musk said, well, this is more of a pulse check, because I doubt they're going to read 2 million emails. There's how many? There's 2 to 3 million employees with the federal government, unless they're going to use a chat bot. So you want to use the kind of the trigger words for the bot, like mission critical and classified, or don't say things like that. Say I can't go into detail because it's classified, but trust me, I worked. And we talked about ways to answer this, but it seems chaotic, as the media puts it. But this is something that has been done in private sector. It just seems chaotic because federal workers never had to do this. Federal workers, once they got the job, they were set for life. And that's not the case anymore. 1-877 Dr. Daliah.
Hi, everyone. If you've been injured in an accident and think you deserve compensation, listen up. We have legal professionals standing by right now. They'll tell you if you have a case and how much it's potentially worth. Call 800-910-7500. That's 800-910-7500. Call now to find out how much your case could be worth.
Advertisement sponsored by Legal Help Center. May not be available in all states.
At Hot Shot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems. For example,
Diesel fuel cetane levels.
the cetane rating in diesel fuel is 42 to 45. Most diesel engines operate more efficiently with a cetane rating of 48 to 50. One treatment of Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme will raise your cetane 7 points, increase fuel economy, and improve cold starts.
Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme is available nationwide at truck stops, fine farm and auto stores, and online at hotshotsecret.com. Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.
Self-reliance. It's not a phrase we hear much in our culture these days. It might conjure up images of pioneers, the West, rifles, strapping men, and strong women. But what does it mean for us in today's world? The New American Magazine has just released its latest collector's edition, Self-Reliance, Foundation of Freedom. In it, the New American authors outline the necessity of self-reliance for a free people, tips for self-reliant living, and the importance of not giving up hope. This unique edition includes articles on the self-sufficiency of the founders, preparing for a worst-case scenario, firearms, financial self-reliance, the importance of community, and many other topics by expert writers. Now, for a limited time, the New American is offering a bundle of 3 collector's editions, Self-Reliance, The Great Reset, and Trump World, for just $19.95. Available at shopjbs.org. Visit shopjbs.org today.
All right, we are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Dr. Daliah, 1-877-DOCDALI. So the listener didn't go into too much detail, but basically he said a telehealth doctor misdiagnosed his wife, and he wants to sue. And what are his, options? I'm not a malpractice lawyer. I'm a physician. Yeah, I usually stay away from malpractice lawyers. Thank God I've never been sued for malpractice. I don't think I've been sued at all. Thank God. So I unfortunately, I'm not legally trained, but I do want to share with you some concerns that I have as a physician if you guys are using telemedicine. Now, telehealth lawsuits do happen. There was a study done out of Rutgers where they looked at 28, or Rutgers is reporting this, a study of 28 telehealth-related medical malpractice claims, and it revealed that over 70% of the claims were related to diagnosis. And they say health conditions like cancer and stroke, misdiagnosis accounted for 45% of telehealth and medical malpractice claims in 2021. So nobody, no doctor should be flipping missing a stroke, heart attack, cancer on telemedicine. That number has to be zero. If I'm running a telemedicine company, that number has to be zero. Well, how do you make that number zero? Well, you ensure that everybody sees a doctor in person. Say, look, I'm helping you online, but I can't tell if this is something more serious. So you need to get seen. Now, you have two types of doctors. You have the doctors that a lot of telemedicine companies hire saying, look, I'm going to do my best to manage your issue over a telephone. This way it saves you money. It saves you time. It saves you exposure in the hospital. And I'm going to do my best. But if it doesn't work, go in and get seen. You have other physicians, and I fall more into this category, where if you tell me you have a symptom, because I was an ER doc, I think of the most severe case and want to rule that out first. So if somebody says, my eye is killing me, I have eye pain and no eye discharge, well, then I'm going to be thinking about glaucoma. I'm going to be thinking about an orbital cellulitis. I'm going to be thinking about a thrombosis. I want to rule out anything serious. So I'm not going to take care of that eye issue over a telephone. If you're telling me you're having some chest pain, heart attack has to be ruled out. Now, I understand you might be having some anxiety. I understand you might be burping a lot, but I've seen people with multiple burps that ended up having a heart attack, or multiple hiccups having a heart attack. In fact, I took care of a patient whose wife made him come in the next day because he was burping all night long. And I diagnosed him. He had a heart attack. And so that's why he was burping so much repetitively. So I always think of if I can't rule out something more severe, I send you. I say you need to go get seen in person. So if you're calling me with your 4-week-old infant and that infant has a fever, you need to get the infant checked out. I can't from here over the telephone say that child is fine. Now, there are some things we can manage. You have a rash. You might have some pink eye, bacterial conjunctivitis, because viral pink eye, you're not supposed to use antibiotic eye drops. You have an infected ingrown toenail. Yeah, we could address that. However, if I still always recommend that you have an in-person provider. So where these malpractice cases are going to be up to, what's going to, I guess, free the doctor or free the patient depends on what information gets exchanged. So if a doctor says, look, we're limited, this is over a telephone, I have no idea if you have a melanoma or if you have cancer or if you have an infection that's going to the bone. And so if they convey that and say you need to see a medical provider or follow up, they're protected. But if they say, no, you do what I tell you, and then at your leisure follow up with a medical provider, they're more at risk. Now, you as a patient aren't going to like any of that. The reason why you're using telemedicine is because you're trying to save money. You're trying to save time. You don't want to have to drive 40 minutes and then sit for hours at an urgent care or an ER. And so many people get very frustrated. I see the reviews of all these telemedicine companies. They make me go in and get seen. They make me go in and get seen. Well, that's going to happen the more doctors are getting sued. If doctors are misdiagnosing over the phone, then, then they're going to tell you to go and get seen more often. And yes, there are some things that can be managed over a telephone, but ideal medical care is in person. And a big, shall we say, problem we're having is patients will tell the doctor what they think they have and narrow that down. So they'll say, yep, I have food poisoning. So I've been throwing up. I just want some nausea medicine and a work note. I had a bad sandwich. So if the doctor's like, all right, here you go, you're throwing up. But if the doctor doesn't stop and go, well, are you having any chest pain? Are you having any trouble breathing? Did you have any alcohol recently? I can't tell you how many times somebody calls up saying, yeah, I must have food poisoning. And it actually ended up they were having pancreatitis. Or they were having blood in the stool. They might have had an ulcer or a GI bleed or a heart condition. But if the patient just says, no to everything, I'm fine. Well, that's a problem. How many times have patients not put in that they were allergic to a medication? So there's no allergy. The doctor writes a medication, and then the patient's like, no, I had an allergy to it. So a doctor is only as good as what the patient tells them. And so you as patients are like, but I don't want to get sent. I don't want to get seen. The most ideal thing, I'm here to advocate for you guys, not to advocate, for doctors. I do advocate for doctors, but my job on this radio show is to be there for you guys. And I'm telling you right now, if you have a doctor and you love them, stick with them. Follow up when you need to follow up. Make appointments with them. Do the in-person physical. Because too many times, there's so many of you that don't have a doctor, and then you're online trying to get care online, and they can't do it. How many patients call me saying, I'm having a kidney stone. Treat me for that. I can't treat kidney stones over the phone. I'm not allowed. It has to be verified. We need to know the size. We need to know if you need surgery or lithotripsy to break it up or a stent put in. We need to know if your kidney is swelling. We need to know if you're going into kidney failure, and we need to know if your kidney is having an infection. I can't diagnose you with a kidney stone over the phone. Where's your doctor? Where's your urologist? I don't have one. And it's not your fault because insurance is making you do this. My insurance tells me if I use telemedicine, it is $0 copay. But if I decide to go into a doctor, I have to shell out $45. Well, of course, you're going to then try to do things online. But what's sad is every time I would examine somebody for their high blood pressure, I would look at their back, make sure there wasn't any moles that was getting missed. When was the last time somebody looked at your skin? Have you had a skin cancer screen? Do you have an abnormal mole growing? When was your last prostate check? So, keep those questions coming and we'll answer them. 1-877 Dr. Daliah.
Did you know that healthy arteries make a gas? Yes, actually 3 known gases. Hi, I'm Dr. Mitch, and nitric oxide is a gas that's readily made all day long to keep our arteries open by relaxing the blood vessel walls. By doing this, our circulation is increased, bringing blood, oxygen, and nutrients to every part of your body. Both age and poor diet can lead to a loss of this precious gas, and in turn, blood pressure can go up, energy can go down, and you can get tingling in your hands and feet. Well, our product, Ultimate Nitric Oxide, can easily help fix this lack of nitric oxide. Go to TotalWellness.com. That's TotalWellness.com, where we are helping you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.